Hello and welcome. In the past on the podcast, I've spoken about why it's important for us to have conversation frameworks to help us guide the relationship and guide the interactions that we have with our potential customers and our clients. Now, the reason why we need to have these frameworks in place is because if we don't have frameworks, then when we're having conversations with potential customers, we're going to be freestyling. And freestyling is not a good thing to do when you're trying to close the deal because you don't know if you're saying the right things. You don't know if you're asking the right questions. And when things go wrong, you can't sit down and troubleshoot and figure out exactly where something went wrong and why you are not able to close the deal. So that's the reason why we need simple conversation frameworks to guide us. Now, it's the same thing even when we're dealing with people who are already our clients. So they're already our clients, they're already giving us money. Abi? Well, it's not that simple. They're already giving us money. But there's this thing that we call account maintenance. And the idea behind account maintenance is this: that when somebody has given you money and they're now a customer, you don't just want to collect, let's say you collected 2.5 from them this time. The goal is not just to collect 2.5 and then stop. The goal is that the person has given you 2.5 now. It'll be a good idea for the person to come back next year and spend another 2.5 with you again. And the year after that, another 2.5, another 2.5, another 2.5. So, with account maintenance, you can maximize customer lifetime value. You can keep people with you for the long haul. So that instead of somebody just spending 2.5 million with you once this year, if they spend 2.5 million naira with you every single year for the next 10 years, check it now. You see that it's different. Now, imagine if you're able to get, 5 customers doing that to you every year, or 10 customers repeat business to you every year. You can see that the picture is different. So, it is hard to do account maintenance. It is hard to maximize customer lifetime value if every single time you're interacting with somebody who has given you money in the past, you're interacting with your clients, every single time you're freestyling. If you're freestyling, you're just coming up with conversation lines on the spot. Then, how do you know what conversation lines you're supposed to hit? How do you know where in the relationship you're supposed to guide people? You won't know. You just be freestyling. And then, of course, if something goes wrong, you won't be able to stop and troubleshoot and figure out, oh, okay, this is where I went wrong, and this is why I wasn't able to get that person, even though they paid me 2.5 million naira last year. That's why I wasn't able to get the person to come and pay me business again this year. So frameworks are very, very important. Now, we've spoken about lots of frameworks on the podcast, and I've made it a big deal to only talk about frameworks that are simple, 2, 3 steps, maybe 4. Because if a framework is simple, if it's short and it's simple to understand, it'll be easy to do and you'll be able to run it from memory. So there are different frameworks with lots of steps and more complicated. So you can find frameworks that have, 10 steps, 12 steps, 15 steps. It's not a problem. It's not as if they're bad. I'm just saying that in the beginning, when you're still trying to find your feet, it will not help if you're trying to remember 15 steps. If you have 2 or 3 steps that you're trying to remember, good. In your head, you can be saying, oh, okay, I've done step 1. It's time for me now to be switching gear. Let me enter step 2. Okay, I don't finish step 2. So how far? How am I going to transition into step 3? That kind of thinking. So I came across a simple framework this morning, and I said, let me just share it with you guys. Oh, by the way, when it comes to frameworks, I keep saying time and time again that it doesn't matter whose framework you use, which framework you pick, because there are lots of people who come and say, oh, what is the best this, what is the best that? And look, all this best thinking is going to delay you from from moving forward. Because some people now, because like I talk about AI adoption also as well, like we should be using AI tools for our business. So there's some people who come forward and say, what is the best AI tool to use? Like, look, all this best, like, just get going. Which one do you have access to? Which one do you like? Which one is already giving you results? Continue. Essentially, they're all the same. There might be some differences here and there when you're thinking about which one is better for photo, which one is better for video, which one is better for audio, which one is better for text, which one is better for summaries, which one is better for templates. So yeah, there'll be those differences. But in the beginning, when you're just starting out, anyone they have access to is fine. So the same thing with frameworks. There is no best framework. There is no best conversational template. There is no best. Some are more adequate or some are more suited to you and to your temperament and to your business and to your style and to your culture and to your, whatever. But the thing is, so long as you pick one and you follow one, you will be fine. Because any framework is better than freestyling. Because with a framework, you have a guided thought process. If you succeed, you can say, oh, this is what caused me to succeed. If you failed, you can say, I suspect it is at this step that there was a problem. So any framework works. And that's why I'm going to share this framework with you today. Now, the person that I listened, okay, I can't remember the guy's name anyway, but I was listening to his podcast. It's an Oyibo podcast, and it's the Cabinet Makers podcast or something like that. So this is a podcast for carpenters and woodworkers. Some of you will be wondering, why am I listening to a podcast for carpenters and woodworkers? It's very simple. Now, my professional background is in law. After that, I got into civil service. After that, I got into events. While I was doing that, my brother and I were involved in agricultural exports. And I realized that having a multidisciplinary background it helps in business. There are some things that you learn in law that are very useful in civil service. There are some things that you learn in the civil service that are very useful in business. In fact, my training on how to use the phone, it was in the civil service. So I didn't learn how to use the phone from anyway, when I was in the civil service, not the Nigerian civil service, I was in the Department of Works and Pensions, and I was a benefits processing officer. So we had to interact with clients every single day. I had to call people every single day, strangers. I had to receive calls from people every single day, strangers. And the people that I was receiving calls from, they were severely vexed. They were pissed because they're supposed to receive money from the government. They have not received their own money. So when they call and I'm the one that picks the phone, you understand, I'm the one who will catch all the heat. That's how it is. It's like when you're pissed with GTB and you walk into the bank, you just unleash your frustration on the customer service person. So it's that kind of thing. So my line manager, my colleagues, we had to I received some training, of course, about how to use the phone and stuff like that. But we had to quickly learn all these sorts of things. How do you talk to people? How do you calm them down? How do you figure out what they want? All these sorts of things. Anyway, bottom line, what I'm just trying to say is that a multidisciplinary background is very, very handy in business. If you're a business person who studied law, well, while you were studying law, maybe you didn't know how it's going to help, but don't worry, trust me, it will help. Even if you studied Yoruba economics, I can assure you, you'll reach a point in your life where you say, oh, that thing that I learned in Yoruba economics is helping me now. So it's always good to come at things from a multi-disciplinary background because there are lots of benefits. So today, I'm a sales coach and a business development consultant. And one of the most powerful skills that I have and that I try to teach people is something that I learned in civil service. So because of that, because I believe a multidisciplinary background is important, I always like to keep an open eye and learn from people in different fields. So yes, I listen to podcasts that are for plumbers. I listen to podcasts that are for carpenters. And I listen to podcasts that are for people in the construction industry. Because I like to see, how do these people think? How do they solve their sales challenges? How do they face their customer service challenges? How do they deal with these issues? How do they deal with that issue? So yes, I listen to those sorts of podcasts, and I will recommend that you try out one or two as well. You'll be surprised at what you can learn. And remember, I keep saying that the principles that you're going to learn when it comes to sales and business development, the principles are universal. So it doesn't matter where you learn it. So if, let's say, you like Nollywood and you happen to be on set with Kunle Afolayan and you hang around with Kunle Afolayan a lot, and Kunle happens to teach you a couple of things about how to sell movies. Later on, when you start your architecture business, you will find out that some of the tips and tricks that Kunle taught you will work in your architecture business. That's just how it is. So, the podcast, I think, is the Cabinet Makers Podcast or something like that. And the guy was talking about conversation frameworks. And the conversation framework that he was talking about on that episode was the 3 Ds. That is a letter D in 3 places. And by the way, when I explain this, you will now see why I say that it doesn't matter which framework you take. Because at the end of the day, all of them are the same. All frameworks are the same. We're just using different names. We're emphasizing different things. And we are putting things in different orders. But essentially, you will find that every single framework, all are the same. That's why I can confidently say it doesn't matter. So if you don't like the frameworks I discuss over here, it's not a problem. You've met somebody else who you think explains things a whole lot better. It's perfectly fine. Follow them. It's not a problem. But don't freestyle. Use a framework. Sorry, excuse me. All right, so the framework now that the guy spoke about was the 3 Ds. And the first D, decision maker. The second D, deliverables. And then the third D, deadlines. I repeat, the first D, decision makers. The second D, deliverables. And then the third D, deadlines. So let's walk through it a bit. Now, decision maker is this. The reason why the guy put decision maker as the first D is because for those of them, remember, it's the Cabinet Makers Podcast, people who do woodwork, carpenters, woodwork, construction work, that kind of thing. The reason why D is important is this, is because if as a woodworker, they spend their time discussing with somebody, you assume the person that you're talking to is the general contractor for the job. So you spend all the time negotiating with the person. Then by the time you finish, you now find out that the general contractor actually is a limited partner. He now has to go and talk to somebody else to approve the budget. That means that as a woodworker, as a carpenter, as a construction worker, you have wasted your time on site. You entered into your car, you fueled your car, you drove to the place, assumed that you were talking to the Oga, pata pata, then you negotiated with the person, then the person now says, hey, I'm coming, I'll get back to you. It's a serious waste of time. By the way, that's why I love listening to these podcasts, because of the kind of hassles that they face. So I don't get to face that hassle because, I'm here in my makeshift office. I make a bunch of phone calls. Worst case scenario, if I wasted my time, it's just a phone call. But for them, you enter a car, you will drive somewhere. We'll be told you that the place is 45 minutes away. You drive there 45 minutes. You go and look at the project. You discuss up and down. You measure. You do everything. So let's say you spend like 30 minutes on site. Then another 15 minutes, you go the price back and forth, haggle, everything. So 45 minutes driving, 45 minutes on site. Already, that is 1 hour, 30 minutes of your day gone. The guy will now tell you, let me get back to you. I have to discuss with the real contractor. You will now drive 45 minutes back. You've wasted 1 hour, 30 minutes, then plus 45 minutes again. What is that? 1 hour, 35. That's 3, that's 2 hours. So that's like 2 hours, 15 minutes of your life just wasted. So that's why I love listening to these podcasts. Because these people, cabinet makers, wood makers, construction workers, people like that in America, because there's a lot of time involved in this driving back and the to and fro and all whatnot, for them, they're very keen. Like, am I talking to the main person? If I'm not talking to the main person, I know they show at all. Because I'm wasting my time. See, this is why you listen to people in other disciplines. You pick up some very good skills. So for them, decision maker is important. Before I enter my car and drive anywhere, like, who am I talking to? So they learn conversation techniques to be able to figure out, am I talking to the right person? Before I go and invest 2 hours, 15 minutes of my life. Only for somebody to now tell me, let me get back to you. So they look for stylish ways to try and figure out, am I talking to the decision maker? And that is the first part of the framework. So for the guy, he was telling all his brothers, the cabinet workers, the carpenters, the construction workers, he was telling them that look, when you're on that phone, drill down. Who are you talking to? If you're not talking to Doga Pata Pata, don't waste your time. Especially if you have other things that you have to be doing. Now, for those of you who are regular listeners, you will remember that one another conversation framework that I've spoken about a lot recently, especially early this year, is BANT, BANT, budget, authority, need, and timeline. You can see that the second letter there is what? A. A stands for authority. Authority just means what? Who is capable of making the decisions? Who is going to make the decision? Who are the key stakeholders that are important that we need to consider when it comes to making a decision? Can you see that it's the same thing? So for this guy, decision maker came first. If you're using BANT, decision maker came second. But can you see that any which way, any which framework, you still have to concern yourself. Am I talking with the Oga Kata Kata? Am I talking with the person who can make the transfer? Am I talking to the person who can say yes? Am I negotiating with the main person so that I won't come out here, let me get back to you? Or let me discuss with my wife? Or let me discuss with the board? Or let me this, let me that? Any framework you pick, doesn't matter. We're all saying the same thing. We just say them in a different order. So you don't like my stuff, go look for somebody else. If the person has a framework, you'll be fine, so long as you apply. So this guy said, number one, decision maker. That every single construction worker, cabinet person, site engineer, foreman, make sure you are talking to the Oga Pata Pata. So that if you discuss once, you have discussed once. If you're making progress, you're making progress. The next thing, deliverables. Now, deliverables just means, the final thing that you are going to make or going to commission or going to fabricate or going to whatever. Now, for people in this trade, it's really, really important because, it eats into their profit margin. Because unlike some of us that sit behind a desk and, make phone calls or do computer code or take pictures or something, these people actually have to go out and buy wood, buy saw, buy cement, buy concrete, buy every. So if they did not buy enough and then they have collected money from somebody, the extra one that they will buy, it will come from their own pockets. If they did not ask questions very well about what it is that needs to be built, what needs to be delivered, what needs to be fabricated, they will cost the job wrongly and the job will end up not, it now won't be a profitable job. In fact, one of the reasons why I love listening to these boys is because they end up in situations where in the beginning they thought they costed it well. By the time they finish work and they look at all the invoices, they'll now realize that they even lost money on the job. Imagine that. So, boys in that space, whether here or in America, construction worker, cabinet worker, site foreman, blah, blah. Look, deliverables is key. They need to understand it well. Because if they get this thing wrong, it will be rough. It will be rough for them. Imagine you doing a job thinking that, this one I'll see like 2M at the end of the day. And by the time you finish and you do your invoice and everything, you now see that the money on top, the one that enter your pocket is just 250K. Man, that thing will be frustrating. So, deliverables. What do you want? What do you need? What are we building? How we you ask all the questions. Now, the different frameworks that I've been talking about over here on the podcast, that's the part where we now talk about need analysis or when we talk about wants. So it's important to be able to understand what exactly it is that people want. That's the reason why I stress it. What are the deliverables? So some of you, let's say you're into your web software development or something. Somebody will come and say, can you design website? You will now send the person price sheet. You will say silver package, 1 million, platinum package, 3 million, copper package, 750K. You didn't ask any question. You now wonder why are people ghosting you. You didn't ask any question. The person that reached out to you, is he the decision maker? You don't know. The deliverables, you didn't ask any question. What kind of website do they want? Is it normal website? Is it single loading website? Is it only landing page? Is it an e-commerce website? Do you have to integrate payment functions into it? You didn't ask any question. Somebody just sent you a message. Can you build website? You now send them price sheet. Gold package, silver package, this package. Ask somebody questions. Who are you talking to? What are the deliverables? What exactly are they trying to build? Because you send somebody price sheet, the person will say no problem. We'll take silver copper package. They'll now wire you 750k. By the time you start the work, you will now realize that you will pay me 750k, but actually this kind of job is the kind of job that normally you suppose drop 2.5. You ask questions. Don't just send somebody a price package. Don't just give somebody a price quote like that. Somebody reaches out to you on WhatsApp, they reach out to you on Instagram. Can you deliver to Sokoto? You say, oh yes, how much? You now give them price. Who are you talking to and what do they need? Ask them questions. So you can see that whether you listen to me or whether you listen to the Cabinet Makers podcast, you can see that decision makers, you need to find out who am I talking to. Deliverables, you need to find out what exactly do they need. That will determine how much I'm going to charge. Then the third D in this system, because remember there are three. Number one, decision makers. Number two, deliverables. Number three, deadlines. Deadlines. If you've been listening to this podcast for the last 2 weeks, you shouldn't be surprised. Because for the last 2 weeks, I've been talking about how Nigerian business people don't bring up the issue of urgency. You don't try to discover urgency. You don't ask questions around timelines. That is just what this means. Deadlines just means, is there any urgency? Are they in a hurry? Is this thing a priority right now? Is this thing a big item on their agenda? That is all you're trying to find out. Because if you're talking to somebody, the person is a decision maker, you have gotten the right deliverables and everything, but the person does not have any urgency. Like they are not in a hurry. You are wasting your time. They've gotten all the information, but they are not in a hurry. What are you following up with them for endlessly? They're not in a hurry. The way that I always explain it, well, not always, the first way I like to explain it whenever I'm here on this podcast is I talk about my experience in the event space as a wedding photographer. So you're into wedding photo, into wedding video. It doesn't matter how much you follow up with this bride. If her wedding is next year, it is next year. It doesn't matter how much close marking you give her. The wedding is next year. It's next year. She's not in a hurry. It's still far. By the way, this is culture dependent because in the UK and in America, people plan their weddings in advance. You see somebody planning a wedding 2 years in advance. I say, now wow, these people are serious. But in this part of the world, if the wedding is next year, forget it. Nobody's in a hurry. So all the follow up that you want to be following up, honestly, right now you're wasting your time. When the wedding is 6 months away, 5 months away, 3 months away, good. You can now begin the ginger, apply pressure small, small. So it's the same thing. You need to know about people's deadlines. When do they need this thing? Why do they even need this thing self? Oh, you're just doing research. Oh, okay, no problem. Here are the figures you need for research. Okay, in that case, maybe I'll check up on you in 6 months, see if anything has changed. Just asking about people's deadlines, you will know how you should be following people. Whether you should be close marking them or whether you should relax. Deadlines. Is there any sense of urgency here? What are their priorities? Is this the top of the agenda? Do they need this thing now? Or maybe they're just curious, it can wait for a while. So, very, very important. Now, I'm not recommending that this is the conversation framework that you should use when you're trying to close sales. But I'm just trying to show you that any framework you come across really is better than freestyling and will keep you guided and guarded when you're having interactions with potential customers and clients. So, somebody sends you a DM. In your mind, you start thinking, decision maker, deliverable, deadlines. If somebody walks into your office, you say, oh, good morning, sir. Take a seat. How can I help you today? In your mind, you will now start thinking decision makers, deliverables, deadlines. If somebody calls you on the phone, hello? Oh, yes. You're actually through to Kemi's architecture studio, something. How can I help? In your mind, you'll be thinking decision makers, deliverables, deadlines. So as the person calls you, decision makers. Oh yes, you're through to Kemi's Architecture Studios. How can I help? Okay, no problem. You will have a farm complex you want to do in Nasarawa. Okay, that's not a problem. We've done several projects like that before. In fact, our best customers were the ones that did the factory something 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 in Ilorin, so this shouldn't be too much of a problem. Also, I hope you don't mind me asking how are you related to the project? Are you the owner of the project? Like you ask. Oh no, I'm not the owner of the project. Oh, okay. So are you the chief foreman or are you the head of the company? Like you will ask, decision maker, who am I talking to? You won't just tell somebody, yes, we design these sorts of things, and in our architecture firm, we design it, for 20 million naira. The person will say, okay, thank you very much. Then they will cut the call. You now don't know what to do next. You answer the phone call. You reply to the DM. The person comes into your office. You tell the person, sit down. Then the first thing, decision maker. Who am I talking to? Next thing, deliverables. What exactly do they want? I need to know exactly because it will determine what it is that I'm going to charge. It would also let me know if I have the skill set to be able to help these people, to be able to fulfill this thing, to be able to make this thing. Deliverables. Then after that, deadlines. Are they in a hurry? Are they really interested? Is this thing a priority? I be they're just curious. Oh, they're just curious. No problem. You follow them softly. Is a huge priority? No problem. You follow them. You do quick marking. So, for now, while you're a beginner, simple frameworks. 2, 3, 4. Simple. If it is 5, 6, 7 steps, you will struggle. But something like this, 3Ds, decision maker, deliverable, deadline, you will stay focused. And you see that you start closing deals, small, small, small. I'm talking to somebody. Is he a decision maker? Okay, I'm talking to somebody. What are the deliverables? Okay, I'm talking to somebody. And what are the deadlines? You see that you start getting better and better and better. So, like I said, there's nothing wrong with a multidisciplinary approach to business. So if you're still in school, you're studying computer engineering now, don't worry. When you enter business, you will see that some of those things you learn will come in handy. If you're studying Yoruba economics, don't worry. You will graduate and you see that Yoruba economics will come in handy. If you're studying nuclear physics, don't worry. Somehow, you will see that when you start business, even if you studied nuclear, let's say you studied nuclear physics, and then you now end up working in the bakery for your family bakery. See, I can't tell you how it will apply now, all right? But I know that one day you say, oh, okay, this thing that I learned in nuclear physics, this thing even applies in bakery. So don't worry, just relax. Then also try and be learning wide. So if you're a consultant like me, you can be learning from people that do handiwork. And I've learned a lot from paying attention to what all these carpenters, plumbers, people like this. I've learned a lot from listening to their podcasts, from watching them. Anyway, it's 30 minutes, so let me just bring it to a close. So thank you very much for your time and attention. If you'd love to connect with me, you can call me, send me a text message or a WhatsApp message on 080-6466-2140. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you all some other time.